I love so this term, and I think I'd love to talk about your relationship with Sticks as well. Is lifestyle marketing, and Red Bull are just the best. I think, in my opinion, there's no one who's done it better in terms of all the sponsorship of the extreme sports people. The guy who jumped out, the Russian who jumped out the fucking thing from the space, like that is just wild. What is your definition of lifestyle marketing versus traditional marketing? Like, what's the difference and the nuance, do you think?
Um, so I mean, I guess like the lifestyle marketing is kind of like getting it in, getting your product or getting your brand in front of the right people and into the right places, essentially. For us at Liquid Death, it's credibly integrating the brands for no cost, where other brands have to pay to get their way into, and we do that through our
Wait,
network.
sorry, say that again.
So
My brain. Yeah,
it's credibly integrating the brands
yeah.
where other brands have to pay to get their way in. So, for example, if they're dropping big sponsorship money on certain, say, I don't know, Instagrammers, for example, for people in the company and how they've grown that is that all these people that we've done things with, we're either friends with them or we have a connection. So a lot of the people within like the big campaigns, they're ambassadors and slash investors of of the brand of Liquid Death, whether that's like Tony Hawk or Steve-O or Travis Barker or Wiz Khalifa, and the list goes on and on. They're all like the people that kind of are involved with Liquid Death have those kind of have that network and have those connections. So it's almost like I don't know, looking at it where we're not trying to kind of barge our way into things that we know nothing about, if that makes sense. So it kind of comes from these subcultures, and then it sort of grows out from that.
Yeah, because I always find, I think every challenger brand wants to be a lifestyle brand, quote unquote, but it's not as there's a lot of nuance to it. 'Cause I think you can. I see some brands in the UK who just do an amazing ATL campaign, and they've got enough awareness, and it um, drives enough sales, drives the team grows, etc. But to actually break it down into like a lifestyle brand
Mhm.
is, I think it's almost that the Champions League of challenger brands is when you become a lifestyle brand. I think Trip is a great example of someone who, in my opinion, have done that. Um, it's a kind of that sweet spot at the top. So you said so they had all these links to these, Travis Barker, these comedians, etc. In the UK, are you trying to replicate that with other links? So, like, would it be a comedian in the UK, or how are you leveraging that knowledge that works in the US and bringing it across the pond?
Yeah, so everything. I mean, it's pretty grassroots. But for example, like my background is in I've got an events and festivals platform called Rad Season, and through that then came the Rad Season podcast. But I've like in past industries been involved with action sports, been involved with events and festivals. So it's kind of combining all those like past contacts. So for example, last year we were kind of backstage at every single major rock, metal, punk festival in the UK. So you go to one of
Sick.
these festivals, Liquid Death is in the VIP area. It's on stage. It's back of house because of those kind of connections. And then it would be the same if you sort of see it popping up on podcasts potentially. It's the same thing as well. So it's something that we don't have those budgets, no matter what people think of, like the energy drinks of the world, where they can pay serious cash to do things. So we have to kind of be smart with it and go, okay, well, how do we get our brand out, and how do we kind of do it in a way that one isn't pushing it down people's throats, like we don't put our logo onto anything, but you see it the parties, and now it's almost tended to this point where the can has become an accessory. Like it's like a fashion accessory. So if you go into like, I don't know, an art exhibition opening, you'll see it at at certain events, or if you go into a fashion show or backstage at a gig, it's sort of it's becoming something where like people will then reach out and go, oh, like can we get some Liquid Death there? Where if they were looking at another brand that didn't have that appeal, they'd be like, oh, we just want you to sponsor it. We just want your money. Like it's 20 grand. It's got to a point now because of all the epic work that they've done in the US and how they built up their following. It's almost like a kudos. Like if there's some association with Liquid Death, then there's a huge benefit. Obviously, over 7 million followers. If we're posting and resharing, there's a massive benefit to the people that we're involved with.
That rather kind of wanky phrase that your distribution is your marketing, and in terms of putting this through to how you be a lifestyle brand, it's like if you then are distributed in places where people like to talk about their lifestyle, and the brand becomes an accessory, i.e. an art gallery. People will put on their Instagram about their lifestyle. Oh, I'm at this sick art gallery. Oh, by the way, I'm having a Liquid Death. Oh, my lifestyle is at a festival. They're going to post it on social. Oh, here's my accessory. So it's almost, I like that link between, yes, distribution is your marketing, but actually if you go further and you actually look into where people lifestyles playing, then that's how you can kind of leverage a lifestyle brand. And I think that's really helpful for people who may not necessarily have the budgets of, I'm not saying you've got huge budgets, but like who are just starting out. Like you can still run that. I think Moju did a very good job of that. Moju, who are in there with stores as well, who are great.
Yeah.
In terms of so what else has Mike kind of taught you about this sort of creative, audacious leadership style? Like, because I know we've talked about innovation coming from the bottom up, but also I'd love to see how it works from the top down. If that makes sense. If it's a top down structure, I don't know how it's structured at Liquid Death.
Sure. So I mean, in terms of sort of what the focus is, and like the last couple of years has been building it up. So it's now kind of looking at like on the lifestyle marketing side of things, like what do we focus on? What are the areas? Comedy is absolutely huge for us. So that's something which is then like top down. It's like, okay, how are we going to make our friends laugh when we produce campaigns, and how are we going to break the internet? And it's sort of looking at it and going like, we're not like worried about what other brands are doing. We're like, it's more people's attention spans when we produce content and when we put it out. So are people going to share it? Are they going to engage? Firstly, will they find it funny enough to then do that? Then it kind of it gets pushed out. So it's like doing that and sort of doing that well and repeating it. It's hard enough doing it, as you know, right? Like kind of doing it once or twice, let alone sort of constantly doing it. So it's looking at that and going, okay, how do we own comedy? How do we kind of how can it be a brand where like it's turning from a product was like when it started off, it's like it's a water brand, it's a soft drinks company, it's a healthy food brand now, going to it's a healthy products / entertainment company, like a Red Bull has a Red Bull Media House for entertainment. It's kind of like, you kind of look at these things and going, okay, well, if we produce something, people will wait and go, okay, well, what's coming up next? It's like that sort of shock kind of value of like, what are they going to produce? What's coming out? And if people get Liquid Death and they find it funny, then it's like it's pretty clear that they'll sort of wait around and go, okay, when they do something again, they're kind of expecting sort of that level of humor and that level of entertainment. instead of kind of pushing a certain kind of product down people's throats. It was always sort of looking at like products that were unhealthy for you, I guess, initially would get to have all the fun. So that was something that Mike would say is just like, well, why is that? Like, why is sort of, whether it's like the pizza companies of the world or sweets, candies, why are they getting to have all the fun with advertising? And it's sort of, you look at like the water market, something that is the most like impactful and healthy thing for you in water, but it was like generally kind of stale sort of marketing campaigns, and there was definitely a gap for that, which Mike saw and go, okay, let's try and build something around this, and water was one of them.